I want to bring in Herb London from the London Center of Policy Research. Your reaction to this Illinois budget battle? I mean, this is interesting because a lot of Republicans are saying we have no choice, and they're going with higher taxes.
There is no reservoir for the pension payments. The liabilities are far greater than the ability of Illinois to address them. Even if you raise taxes, you're still in the end going to look to the federal government to try and bail people out. You look at Stockton, you look at New York, everywhere you look in the United States, the influence of pensions is having a corrosive effect on budgets. There is no doubt that we do not have the resources based on existing liabilities to pay off what is necessary.
Now, these are state pensions, which the promises have been extraordinary. I mean, lavish. Your ability to access them at a far earlier age than most working people in America, just phenomenal.
Charles, you look at what happened in Michigan. When the Detroit matter finally went to the courts had to decide. You've got people holding GOs, general obligation bonds, and you've got the people who work for the government and were given a promise, a contractual promise. What do you do in that case? Well, they had a Solomonic decision. They kind of split the baby in half. In the end, this is not a workable solution. These are not sustainable solutions. And unless you have a reservoir of capital for pensions, we've got to think about pension system in a very different way in this country.
Next one for you, Herb. President Trump turning the heat on right now in China, of course, trying to get them to pressure North Korea. He tweeted, trade between China and North Korea grew almost 40% in the first quarter, so much for China working with us, but we had to give it a try. He's meeting with China's President Xi at the G20 later on this week. What do you think comes out of that? Also, I want to let the audience know that China and Russia had a joint communique, essentially wagging their fingers at North Korea and America, saying, hey, maybe if we weren't doing these military exercises, we wouldn't be provoking this so-called hermit kingdom.
Look, THAAD for the Chinese is very, very upsetting. It changes the correlation of forces in Asia. But I think the important thing and very important development is that the United States, one, needs a more robust system across the globe. We've got to put as many resources as possible.
We don't have them.
But we've got to find the resources to have an anti-missile system on the West Coast. We've got to do more to put pressure on China, including talking about trade with China. And three, and I've mentioned this to you before, we've got to do something with Japan to encourage the Japanese to modify Article 9 in their constitution so that they have nuclear weapons. I assure you, if the Japanese were to talk seriously about nuclear weapons as a deterrent, the Chinese would jump into that negotiating table.
I've always felt that Shinzo Abe was elected to bring back that samurai spirit. I mean, we're talking about grass-eater boys. We're talking about plummeting population growth, a nation that has been neutered itself. And I think that their last grasp was to elevate this guy. And I think they want to ditch that pacifist constitution.
Well, a younger generation understands the need for some sort of deterrent. But an older generation with a memory of Hiroshima and Nagasaki still very much opposed to it. The difficulty that Abe has is a political one. How do you move ahead, recognizing the fact that you still have the legacy of the past?
Herb, great stuff. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.